Welcome back to my channel, y'all. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. And on this episode of Truckin It, we're going to be talking manual transmissions versus what I have, an auto shift. Stay tuned. So, welcome back to my show, y'all. And as I sit here in this truck, as I wait on my co-driver, he'll probably get here later on tonight. I'm just trying to get rested up before he gets here because we got a long night ahead of us by what I'm seeing in the weather forecast. You got some choices to make when you're first getting your CDL. I want to walk you through one of those choices here. If you have the option when you're going through CDL school, I would really like it if you would choose to learn stick shift. That's right, rowing your own gears. Because, I'll get into this in a minute, but there are differences between manual transmissions and automatics. And in a manual transmission setup, you will be less likely to have trouble down the line if you know how a stick shift works, even if you're driving an automatic now. So, I'll start with the basics here. On a stick shift transmission, which I do not have on this truck, like, in fact, if you look, there's no lever on the floor. Yeah, this truck's an auto shift. But on a stick shift truck, you'll have a big old honking lever and a third pedal called a clutch. And that's what I learned on before I got into this. So, I know how it works. I'd really like to have an 18-speed myself. And it's just more fun out on the highway. But the auto shift does have its advantages. Better fuel economy, better performance, and better reliability. Because an auto shift typically does not miss gears unless it has gone transvestite, as John Cordogan calls it. So, that being said, there are times in which you need to row your own gears, even on an auto shift. So, on this particular truck, I'm going to flip the camera. You can see on the gauge cluster that the transmission is in neutral, and that my lever is also in neutral, and I have the parking brake set. However, sometimes on mountain grades, or in sharp curves, or, well, you're going down the highway, the transmission may end up doing what's called gear hunting, or as John Cordogan calls it, Transvestite Transmission, where it's not in the right gear at all. So, how does learning stick allow you to overcome the transvestite transmission? Well, the answer lies in knowing which gear you're in and which gear you need to shift to. Now, on this truck, you may have noticed something else when I flip the camera. We've got a little gauge on here called a tachometer. It measures the RPM of the engine. So, when you're going down a grade, our max RPM is 1900. And when you're going up a grade, the max RPM is about 1500 to 1600. Before you have to either downshift or upshift, respectively. So, when you're climbing, and the transmission starts acting funny, and the tachometer dips down below 1100, we just give it a quick downshift manually, And that overcomes the transvestite in the transvestite transmission. And that's just a quirk of having an auto shift. Now on a stick shift, or manual transmission as we call it here in the US, we grow our own gears. Here's when that happens. So, press down on the clutch gently once to pop it into neutral. Press it again real quick to get down after you raise your RPMs. That's called double clutching. And you got to do it real quick and in sync, because otherwise you will lose RPM and vehicle speed quick when you're going up that mountain grade. Now, if you're going downhill in a manual transmission, you want to make sure that you're in a low enough gear once you get to the top of the grade that you can safely descend. Typically a couple gears lower than what you climbed with on the newer trucks. On older trucks, it may be just a gear lower, because older trucks have the aerodynamics of a brick, even more so than this. Now, another thing to consider, as you can see, I'm parked. There's nobody in my right seat. There's no going down the road. And that's why I do not have my seatbelt fastened in this video. I'm stopped. I'm relaxing. Just perhaps getting the truck cleaned out a little bit before I take off tonight for my dedicated run. And I would like y'all to know that when you go get your CDL for that first time, or if you're a rookie driver who's just getting started, it would really pay for you to learn how to drive manual. It really should be part of your training, even with the newer trucks having on auto shift. Because knowing which gear you're in and which gear you need to be in will make the difference when you're going down the mountain and suddenly stuff starts happening. Either the road starts getting slick, or the state trooper shows up, or the things start going haywire on the truck. Now, if you do drive an auto shift, there's one particular situation where learning manual can really help you once you get into these auto shift equipped trucks. And that is when you're starting out on an uphill. Because on a manual transmission, you got to slip the clutch a little bit. Well, guess what? These auto shifts don't have a clutch pedal. So, instead of slipping the clutch, what you have to do is hold the brake and the accelerator at the same time once you're ready to start out. It's a bit tricky to learn at first. So some of these truck makers, Freightliner especially, have included Hill Start Assist to help you with that. But once you've mastered that technique, it is very simple to be able to climb and descend hills in either an auto shift or a manual. So, learn that stick shift first, and then decide if you want to drive stick or if you want to drive an auto. It will really help you in the end. I'm Zach Bell. This is Truckin It. And y'all have a good day. Keep rolling them gears and perhaps blowing my doors off. Bye for now.